And this is our January 8th, 2023 Zoom Satsang keynote presentation. Our first topic is answering some questions sent in to satsang@hindu.org. Please share how Hindus view non-believers as a parallel to question 12 of 14 questions. The 12th question is, how do Hindus view other religions? The answer is, Hindus honor all religious traditions and the people within them. While regarding our faith as uniquely endowed, we believe that there is no exclusive path, no one way for all. The rephrase is, how do Hindus view those who hold non-religious worldviews? This would include atheists, anti-theists, agnostics, and the disinterested nuns. And the answer, Hindus respect people of ethical behavior regardless of their belief or non-belief in God. Among the non-believers, to those who are interested. We strive to explain Hinduism to them in a way they can best understand why we find great value in it. In other words, we don't have one answer for all types of people. We try and understand the person's interest. Is he scientific? Is he mystical? Etc. And then craft our answer to fit what he or she would understand. And we can keep in mind Gurudeva's teachings that everyone is on the spiritual path. Many people are not consciously on it yet, but they are still on it, still making spiritual progress through experience. So that helps us accept everyone for where they are on the path, be they theist or atheist. They're still on the path and making spiritual progress in their own way. Our second topic relates. It's the publisher's desk. Mom, Dad, I'm an atheist. Subtitle: Hinduism has never opposed the idea of disbelief, but its profound understandings of God make atheism more difficult. That's a great subtitle. This is the January 2020 Publisher's Desk. In many of my talks over the years, I have spoken about the idea of the secularizing influence of modern universities on our Hindu youth. Surprisingly, almost none of the parents and teachers present had ever heard of this erosive phenomenon. I explained that in the university environment, reason and science dominate, and religion is presented as a lesser subject. Some academics argue that the concept of religion has outlived its purpose and should be abandoned. As a result of years of exposure to intellectual secularism, there is a strong trend among university students to reject the religion in which they were raised. This applies to youth of all faiths, with few exceptions. This rejection takes several forms. The three most common are converting to the beliefs of atheism, adopting secular humanism, or third, becoming spiritual but not religious. The topics of spiritual but not religious and secular humanism have been covered in previous publishers' lists. Here we explore the third outcome, atheism. I personally know Hindu families whose son or daughter has returned from university studies and confronted mom and dad with a statement such as the following. At the university, I was taught to believe in the scientific method, that everything needs to be provable. There is no proof for the existence of God. Therefore, I no longer believe in God. I am an atheist. Most parents are shocked by such a statement and have no idea what to say or do in response. My advice to parents is to first recognize and accept their offspring's newfound philosophical position. Then later find the opportunity to share more about the nature of God in the Hindu tradition, which is broader and more mystical than in Western faiths, the ground in which atheism is rooted. Explain that when most people think of God, which the youth has rejected, they think of him or her as a person. This is the view of many academics. However, in Hinduism and other Eastern faiths, God also exists as omnipresent consciousness and the transcendent source of that consciousness. Gurudeva described these three aspects of divinity as follows. God is transcendent as the unmanifest, the ineffable, that which lies beyond time, form, and space. God is eminent as the substratum of primal substance and pure consciousness flowing through all form. And God is also eminent as the primal soul who performs the 5 divine actions of creation, preservation, destruction, veiling, and revealing. Though God is a singular and sacred mystery, we understand him through these 3 perfections. Thus God is far more than a personal Lord. Phase 2 of responding to your offspring's newfound atheism is to bring the concept of divinity down to a personal level. We can say, it may seem strange, but you can practice Hinduism without believing in a personal God. All you need to believe in is you yourself. Ask yourself the question, do you exist? The answer to that, of course, is yes. In Hindu thought, focusing on one's own existence and its nature is called knowing thyself. The second question to ask yourself is, am I aware that I experience various states of consciousness? Positive ones, such as confidence, and negative ones, such as inferiority, fear, anger, worry. Perhaps you are fortunate enough to experience creative states in which you produce something new, an invention, a poem, or a song. Again, the natural answer is yes. Imagine these states of consciousness as a mercury thermometer. The creative states are toward the top and the negative ones are at the bottom. The goal of the path of knowing thyself is to learn to control the mercury so that awareness always resides near the top. When we get good at that, then the absolute top of the thermometer becomes reachable. That is divine, omnipresent consciousness. As it turns out, that consciousness is within everyone and, yes, even within God. In fact, it is described as God. In Hinduism, this approach to the divine is called Advaita, meaning non-dualism, or Ekavada, meaning monism. Omnipresent consciousness is often referred to in Sanskrit as Sat Chit Ananda, which literally means existence, consciousness, bliss. Gurudeva gave this description. Sat Chit Ananda is Lord Shiva's divine mind and simultaneously the pure superconscious mind of each individual soul. Sat-Chit Ananda is perfect love and omniscient, omnipotent consciousness. The fountainhead of all existence, yet containing and permeating all existence. Also called pure consciousness, pure form, substratum of existence, and more. One of the goals of the meditator or yogi is to experience the natural state of the mind, Sat-Chit Ananda, holding back the vrittis, mental activity, through yogic practices. Sat-Chit Ananda can be experienced by the diligent yogi or meditator as a merging in or identification with the underlying oneness flowing through all form. This experience is called Savakalpa Samadhi. Paramaguru Yogaswami described this state in the following way. Sat-Chit Ananda, that is one thing. Sat-Chit Ananda. Sat is you are. Chit is omnipresence. Prakasha, light as from the sun, all-knowing. Ananda is bliss. They are three, but they are one. That is your nature. In other words, in Hindu thought, we can personally prove the existence of God as omnipresent consciousness, Sat-Chit Ananda, through our experience of it. This is the mystical approach to proving the existence of God. It is not based on the shifting sands of belief. From Yogaswami's point of view, since he asserts that God is everyone's innermost essence, to not believe in God is the equivalent of not believing in oneself. Who would want to do that? The state of Sat-Chit Ananda can also be described with the terms non-dual awareness and fundamental awareness. And some scientific papers are putting forth the theory that non-dual awareness is foundational to the universe. For example, in their 2016 paper, Fundamental Awareness, a framework for integrating science, philosophy, and metaphysics, Neil D. Thies, MD, and Menassi Kafatos, professor of computational physics, summarize their ideas in the opening abstract. The ontologic framework of fundamental awareness proposed here assumes that non-dual awareness is foundational to the universe, not arising from the interactions or structures of higher-level phenomena. The framework allows comparison and integration of views from the three investigative domains concerned with understanding the nature of consciousness: science, philosophy, and metaphysics. In this framework, awareness is the underlying reality, not reducible to anything else. Awareness and existence are the same. As such, the universe is non-material, self-organizing throughout a holarchy of complementary process-driven recursive interactions. The universe is both its own first observer and subject. Considering the world to be non-material and comprised a priori of awareness is to privilege information over materiality, action over agency, and to understand that qualia are not a hard problem, but the foundational elements of all existence. These views fully reflect mainstream Western philosophical traditions, insights from culturally diverse contemplative and mystical traditions, and are in keeping with current scientific thinking, expressible mathematically. Isn't that interesting? You can express it mathematically. For those not familiar with the terms qualia and holarchy, qualia are the internal and subjective component of sense perceptions. arising from stimulation of the senses by phenomena. A holarchy is a connection between holons, where a holon is both a part and a whole. The viewpoint in the article by Theist and Kaphatos is indeed encouraging, showing that a change is gradually taking place in the scientific world regarding the nature of God and how it relates to modern physics. It is our hope that in a not-too-distant future, the university experience of Hindu youth will lead to new affirmative conclusions, and upon returning home from university, they will declare to their parents. The Hindu view that God is the underlying substratum of the universe is now proved by modern scientific thinking and is expressible mathematically. Our Hindu rishis had it right thousands of years ago. Until a shift such as this happens, it is important for parents and teachers of Hinduism to have a strategy for preparing their youth for the secular anti-religious university experience. I suggest emphasizing how Hinduism is about understanding and harnessing our states of consciousness. It has many practices within it for overcoming negative states such as anger, fear, worry, and self-doubt. Additionally, it provides meditation techniques through which we can experience the inner happiness and contentment of higher consciousness, which can eventually lead to discovering the one omnipresent divine mind permeating everyone and everything. As stated by a rishi long ago in the Shvetasvatara Upanishad, He is God hidden in all beings, their inmost soul who is in all. He watches the works of creation, lives in all things, watches all things. He is pure consciousness beyond the three conditions of nature. And we are ready for our third topic, remorse, which is the 44th character quality of our character building workbook. How would you define remorse? Our character building workbook says remorse is mental distress arising from regret for a past misdeed. I strengthen it by always apologizing when I misbehave or hurt others, even inadvertently, with my words or actions. The opposite is impenitence. That's a seldom used word. Impenitence. Hari, the first of the 10 niyamas or practices, is remorse. Being modest and showing shame for misdeeds, seeking the Guru's grace to be released from sorrows through the understanding that he gives, based on the ancient Sampradaya doctrinal lineage he preaches. And our second quote from Gurudeva. Often people think that showing shame and modesty and remorse for misdeeds is simply hanging your head. Well, really anyone can do this, but it's not genuine if the head is not pulled down by the tightening of the strings of the heart, if shame is not felt so deeply that one cannot look another in the eye. When the hanging of the head is genuine, everyone will know it and seek to lift you up out of the predicament. Comparing the actions of one who is remorseful to one who is impenitent. First situation, you get caught stealing lipstick from a local store and remorse. Realizing your choice was wrong, regret the act deeply. Impenitence. Don't see the big deal, but are sorry you got caught. Second situation. After arguing with your little brother and calling him lame, you remorse. Realize your words hurt him. Apologize and play his favorite game with him. Impenitence. Have no sense of wrongdoing, rather feeling he deserved what he got. And third situation. You go to a party against the family's wishes and without their knowledge, and you. Remorse. Feel rotten the next day, confess to mom and dad, and tell them you are sorry. Impenitence. Keep the little transgression to yourself, hoping no one finds out or squeals. Reflection. Take a moment to identify a few ways in which you could improve in remorse. And the assignment. During these 2 weeks, if memories of a past misdeed pop up and make you feel remorseful, figure out a way to apologize and make amends for the action. Om Namah Shivaya.